100%.
Hey Martin, welcome to episode 107 of Illuminating Rounds. We've had a bit of a break. Welcome back. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Yeah, we've both been pretty busy with one thing or another, haven't we?
That's right. Yeah. So I've been in Madrid, and I have been doing other stuff, but not as busy. You've been busy as well. You've emulated.
No, your busy is all nice things, and my busy is all being in a hospital watching my mum and stuff like that. So who's on the mend, by the way.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And we've passed our best wishes on to her.
Yeah.
You emulated one of our great ASL role models of Tim Bunce by cancelling a game of ASL by sending me a picture of you in an ambulance.
Didn't even occur to me. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So the lengths that our ASL compatriots will go to let us know, you know. But you seemed fine in the ambulance, by the way. You seemed.
Yeah.
Is that the first time you've ever ridden in the back of an ambulance?
I'm just trying to think. No, it isn't. I once contacted one. Is it 111? The sort of the medical advice service, and they called an ambulance completely unnecessarily. And but having been called, they couldn't leave me until they'd done all sorts of tests on me.
Okay.
So that's the only other time. In fact, I knew the paramedic as well. I taught her son, and in fact her other son was one of my son's friends. So
okay.
it was quite a cosy sort of journey. I wasn't feeling very ill, so it was quite pleasant.
And we should stress your mum. She hurt her leg, didn't she? But she
hurt her leg. She couldn't stand up, and she still can't stand up. But there's nothing sinister there. But I mean, people might know my mum has Alzheimer's, so she can't. Her walking is deteriorating anyway. But she can't communicate, which is why the hospital wanted me to stay with her for 3 or 4 days, or whatever. So it was interesting times. Yeah.
Now that was a pretty grim experience, but I think it was a bit more fun than the scenario we played. but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later. Obviously, the hospital was not more fun, but
no.
But it was close. It was close. So we've got some stuff from Toby. Toby's going to finish on his talk about leaders, and I think we'll have a chat about that as well, because I think Toby, what he's going to say is makes a lot of sense, but I think we can add some bits and pieces to that and have a discussion about that. We also have a whole set of extra giveaways. So we met with one of our patrons, and they want to remain anonymous, but they have given us a whole load of great stuff to give away to people. And so this includes, and so we'll go through very quickly what we're going to do at some point. So we've got La Frontière number 16. This is the controversial one with all the maps that have been redone. These are the MMP maps that have been restyled in jungle. And they're quite interesting. They've got heavy jungle on one side and light jungle on the other side. So that's a little bit innovative, I would say, but maybe not as innovative as if it was their own maps that they had jungleized. But we'll leave the debate about that for a little while. And we've got some advanced squad leader starter kit bits and pieces, and this is this is quite interesting. So we've got the bonus pack number 3. Oh, that's expansion pack 3. Sorry, expansion pack 2, and the bonus pack number 2 as well to give away. So we'll think about something for starter kit players, and then we also have a copy of Samara Glees as well to give away. So amazing! So thank you very much to the gentleman,
anonymous donor.
The anonymous donor. I think it's fair to say it's a gentleman. And so thank you very much for that. That's much appreciated. We'll have a think about how we're going to do that, and we'll come up with a plan for that. We've got the tournament going on as well. We've got some. You've done the draw for that.
Yes. Yeah.
And we can talk about what we're going to play as well. We'll come up to that in a little bit. But it's Pete Schelling. So Pete Schelling, who is obviously an incredible designer, and so we had a quick chat to him about what scenario he felt, and it was brilliant chatting to him, because Pete, of course, is this scenario designer of many scenarios that we've all played, and I asked him for his favorite and also one he thinks you should play. And as all the scenarios do, they tell me they can't pick between their favorite children, which is interesting because you and I pick our favorite children all the time. But
absolutely. Yeah.
but anyway, often it's not our own; it's other people's.
It was exactly. I mean, actually, parenthood is really overrated, isn't it? It's
So I don't know why he had such a problem picking his own scenarios. But then he listed lots as if to sort of like not, like how you know when you get asked your favourite and you have to say, well, it's this one and this one. It was a little bit like that with Pete. But I did narrow him down to one, and we'll talk about that a little bit. So we're going to play that one. We've obviously, and it wasn't, so spoiler, it's not Urban Guerrillas, which I suspected it was going to be, and it didn't even feature in one of the things he mentioned. But he basically just said, Urban Guerrillas kind of had its life its own, really, from when he published that one. But lots of great scenarios that Pete's done. And we'll also go through our scenario play-in of is it Forgotten War, isn't it? The Korean one.
Yes. Yeah.
Anything else we're going to talk about?
I think you've covered it, Dave. That's pretty impressive.
Okay. Well, okay. I don't know about that, but okay. Let's jump into the scenario we played then. So first of all, Korean War. We hadn't played a lot of it. We played the Fight for Seoul, the scenario from Le Franctier, but we hadn't played. Now, have you played anything else from the Korean War pack?
Oh yes, I played a couple. I perhaps played 2 or 3, mostly quite small ones.
Okay.
I can't think off the top of my head. You've caught me out on what they were.
And you don't log them, so we have no chance of knowing.
I could find out because I've got this razor sharp memory.
Yes.
I played when it first came out. I played PAS in a double one. We played a couple.
Okay.
You get a bayonet charge.
Okay.
Or a bugle. Was it a bugle charge? I don't know. I remember this bayonet.
Could have been.
Oh, there's both, isn't there? Both. There's rules for both. Yeah. So we had one of those.
Or you could have been bayoneting charging. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very similar action.
Yeah. I got to say, I'd be much more nervous of people bayonet charging me than bugle charging me. what they do when they get to you with a bugle. But
yes.
Shudder to think. Yeah. So yeah, I've played a couple.
All right. Yeah. So this was my first one from this pack, and I think that they're quite large scenarios, aren't they? I think I'm going to pull up the list of them and see.
This one certainly was. Yeah.
This one was, wasn't it? And I think it's quite hard because sometimes if you ask me like what kind of scenarios I like in ASL, I think I fall into the like right in the middle of the category of like I like medium size, like 4 or 5 hour scenarios. I like combined arms. Probably have a preference for Western Front, but I don't mind Japanese at all. Don't like night scenarios. That's kind of my like. It's very meat and potatoes. This one is very infantry heavy, wasn't it? Very jungle terrain, but not in the jungle. And
in fact, it's light woods, isn't it? Nearly all light woods.
Yes.
But there are some features. There's some other features for Forgotten War. Yeah.
And if we look at the size of the scenarios in it, so we played this Hey That Ain't a Rock, which doesn't get a particularly high rating, by the way, on the archive, 5.67 total rating out of 10, and is one of the longer scenarios. So.
Could I just interject here to say that Ben Jones saw us playing in our first session and contacted me because he absolutely loves this scenario. He's played it several times.
Right. Now, and what's interesting about this is we picked this one without really seeing the balance. And then we came across the balance, and it's ridiculously, I mean, I say ridiculous, but very favours the North Korean side.
North Koreans,
Yeah. So on Raw, 12-3, on the archive, 5-1. So although that's not a lot of play-ins, it's still, I think it's starting to show a trend.
Yeah, I'd say that looks skewed, doesn't it?
Yes. So we gave you the balance.
There's a story here.
There is a story. There is a story. So we'll give you the balance. And I think if we start the first turn at the point of where we've got to before Ben's advice, we can sort of talk about the scenario, and then we can see the impact of Ben's advice. So we've got the scenario up now, and Martin, do you want to go through both the tactical situation and the kind of the rough idea of the forces?
Yeah, so it's quite sort of strict. It's quite scripted in terms of where things set up. You can see perhaps a little sort of red dotted line that the forces between there, they have to set up there. The forces behind them have to set up. So there's a lot of sort of scripting. There's that little HQ unit at the front in that with that circle of the Americans they have to set up there. And the Russians are overwhelming. They're very, very powerful, and they'll go through the Americans, I think, relatively quickly. So the victory conditions are that the North Koreans win at the end of the game by having more victory points than the Americans. CVP are earned normally, but also both sides earn victory points for units exited off the east edge of board 50. That's the upper board here. Prisoners, captured equipment don't count. So the interesting thing really is that the North Koreans can get a lot of points quite cheaply because they'll probably destroy that little group of Americans that are too far forward. But the Americans can drive vehicles off to get CVP towards the end of the game when they know what they need. They can run infantry off. The North Koreans have got to get off that 10 hex edge of board 50 on the right hand side there.
Right.
And something that I didn't completely miss, okay, after we set up like this, I realised a little its significance, but it was after I set up I realised it, that the conditions are very dry. And it should be possible with quite a few leaders. The Americans got quite a few leaders. It should be possible to set fires.
Right.
But I didn't set up with that in mind.
Right.
But we'll come to that in a moment. Yeah.
So there's SSR also talks about having a 2 acquisition on 1 hex from the mortar. So he gets basically like a so clearly these guys are under some fire. And we've got irrigated rice paddies as well, which is a new terrain.
Yeah. And do you know what? We invested quite a lot of time in making sure we understood how to use those.
Yes.
And then I think like a couple of my squads escaped through irrigated rice paddies, and that's kind of it, really.
Yeah, in a nutshell, it was basically just 3 movement points in, or you can go one onto the bank and then run along the banks, which are the kind of effectively the edges, the bypassable edges. So there's a lot of rules for those that probably could be, I don't know about reduced, but it's
expressed in a simple way.
Yeah. There's a lot of verbiage for that. Okay, so for me,
so it's worth saying that this is all light forest.
That's right. Yeah, the Vassal graphics did quite a nice job of showing that this is not quite woods.
Yeah.
So
although I continually forgot and manoeuvred behind woods, thinking I was safe, and wasn't.
So that's right, because they're basically a 2-level, two hindrance.
Plus 2 hindrance.
Yeah, plus 2 hindrance. Of the same level. If it goes through the same level. And so it does affect concealment quite a lot. So basically that's the job of the Americans. You know, it's like a holding force, stop coming off and bits and pieces. Despite all of that, there's quite a lot of concealments to do. Now I'm going to change it. I think there's a current Vassal bug, I think, around not being able to store the preference of the jump into the centre. I can't think. I like centre on the map. Is it general? There's something else. Central opponent's moves. It keeps getting ticked for some reason. But anyway.
Yeah, I found that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just zoom out a little bit just to give us a little bit of a sense of where we all are. So we'll zoom through. So there's 8 turns as well, and you get the last turn, which is interesting.
Yes.
You're the Americans in this. So we kick off, and the mortar's basically just going to destroy much of what it sees. There's a lot of prep fire and bits and pieces here, and we have the other problem of the counters weren't owned by the right person, so I couldn't conceal them. It was all a bit.
Yes, so we just a little bit of fiddling around there.
There's a bit of that kind of stuff going on. I've
never come across that before.
It's a bit strange. But basically, so I try and push forward, and you are able to, as the Americans do, put on a lot of firepower.
Yes.
Here, and my idea was just to kind of try and break through that first line very quickly.
Yeah.
And it's quite a tough ask. And the problem is going to be this open ground gully here, getting across this. If you've got this the high ground here, getting over that hill is quite difficult. I drop a guy back to basically start to eliminate you guys for failure to route.
Yeah.
And
it's actually quite difficult for the Americans to escape though now, because you've
Yeah.
got that big hilltop behind them. So
Yes.
obviously and you know you can see through things. So
right, exactly. Now it's a big scenario, but not a lot goes on in it. And I think this is my first kind of complaint about this, in that it felt like there needed to be some like a crescendo to a big end kind of thing, or a big but it just didn't feel like there was anything there that we could really get our teeth into. We couldn't have like massive fire groups that were batting each other out. I don't think there was any close combat in the entire game.
There wasn't. Actually, that's a good point. Yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah. Possibly with these HQs.
Right.
No, maybe not. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically,
so we just finished turn one. We actually finished there because we were really busy because one of us had something on. And Ben contacted me and he said, "Oh, I saw you playing that brilliant scenario. Hey, there ain't a rock. Have you worked out the significance of the extra dry, the double dry weather?" And as I say, I had, but I was kicking myself because I hadn't put the leaders in the right places. And he said, "Yeah, but it's not just about leaders. Don't forget, you've got white phosphorus grenades, you've got white phosphorus bazookas, and you've got white phosphorus in the mortars.
You got recoilless rifles as well.
And indeed the recoilless rifles. And all of those I had kind of I hadn't twigged that all had white phosphorus. So and also I was thinking, well, why are they even giving us bazookas in this game? It's like the only way they're going to be of much use, really. I suppose there's a couple of buildings. I thought, but if you capture them. So I was, actually toying with like putting them on the trucks and driving the trucks off for the exit victory points. Anyway, that was very, very helpful for him to mention.
So exactly that. So as we can see now, here come the flames, and the flames. Yeah. I think after a task check, you're rolling. I think is it something like 5s or something to start flames. It's very
bigger
easy.
than a 5. So it's pretty good. The white phosphorus grenades are not quite. I mean, it's only on 1 or 2 that you even get them, but that's still a 1 in 3 chance. And there's hundreds of squads out here, so I'm going to be able to make as much fire as I want in this scenario. Yeah.
And the key thing about that is you're going to channel the North Koreans.
Yeah. Exactly that.
So.
Yeah.
On we push. I don't recognise the danger as yet of that little flame.
No. Yeah. You're thinking, what's he playing at? What's he playing at?
There's no fire brigade in this one.
And in some ways it feels tough because you are like sort of taking me, dismantling me, pushing me back, and I don't feel like I can stop you.
Right. Yeah. The 8 morale are great guys, and they're decent.
Yeah.
They're decent in the.
And you've got a lot of squads on that hill.
Yeah, exactly. It's worth mentioning you've already taken off some guys.
The trucks and stuff.
Right. So,
I think it's just the trucks. Yeah. But they do count. I mean, they're only 1 or 2 points each or whatever. But so
currently you've taken 14 points off, and I've scored 11 points in CVP so far. So
it's kind of on you to kind of do something to win, isn't it? What I've got to do is sort of fall back and not lose too much. And
yeah, exactly.
But I think you will eventually get most of that stuff on the hill one way or another, on the left-hand side, the top left hill.
Yeah. So exactly that. So I feel like I've kind of cleared off.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. We did get some close combat.
Close combat.
Yeah, we did.
There we go.
We did get one.
Of course we did.
Oh no, I think you won the ambush and withdrew.
That's true. Well, that's still that's a close combat thing, isn't it?
Close to a close combat. It's a close combat.
Right.
So pulling back.
Fires still don't look too important, do they?
No, I mean, how bad can fires get in light minutes in a very hot day?
Exactly.
So we carry on running.
Yeah.
Into the gully.
So,
And I mean, this is turn 3. So
Yeah, you're making good progress. And I thought I was very ineffective. My fire was relatively ineffective, stopping
right,
you
right,
beginning to boil over
yeah.
into the gully.
This is where now we're starting to see blazes are having an effect. So I'm having to brake to fall out. Now, our understanding of it was that if you have a blaze in with an infantry, they have to voluntary brake, and then they have to route out. But if they can't voluntary brake and they are pinned, they are eliminated. But if they're broken, we think they're okay to withdraw from the
withdraw like in close combat.
yeah.
That's how we played
Which
it.
seems strange because it seemed like pinned units were penalised more than broken units. That's the weird thing. But the rules seem fairly clear. It talks about like non-pinned. It doesn't talk about unbroken.
Yeah.
So so the blaze is starting to take hold in that kind of
The thing is, it's almost guaranteed to spread, isn't it? I mean, it's I think it's 5 or more in most instances here.
Right.
Sometimes it's 4 or more, isn't it? Because it's uphill.
Yeah, and you can see suddenly now.
Yeah, you got whole areas blocked off.
There's a couple of funny YouTube videos of people doing cooking videos that suddenly they have a chip pan fire or something. They do something crazy. It's usually the younger kids doing something, and then suddenly they throw a load of water on it, and it suddenly gets a whole lot worse. And that kind of reminded me of this scenario a little bit. That someone's fanning this fire, and already my guys are struggling to get through. So obviously the irrigated rice paddies are going to be fairly safe from the blazes, but they're so slow to get through. So even though I'm getting a number of guys past this area, we're 17 points each on the CVP.
Yeah, you are about to get a big pile more, I think, aren't you?
Yeah, that pile in the middle there, the DM guys in the gully here.
Well, not yet. They escape for now, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, you kept me guessing. You did some really sneaky things with how you were moving to make me think you weren't moving where you were moving.
Right.
Trying to get me to fire at the wrong moment and stuff. Right, that was very sneaky.
I lose 4 points worth of CVP trying to do that.
True.
I was trying to get someone. Basically, if I can get someone into V6 here, then when you end up in W7,
it would be the end. They'd all surrender. Yeah.
And there's a lot of points in there.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're not worth anything, so I end up basically I would just refuse them anyway. Their death of failure to rout would be the CVP. So bringing on a whole bunch of guys here, and we more blazes, more spreading. And
so you begin to realise how effective these fires would have been if I had set up with the intention of placing them strategically.
So a whole bunch of final fire that does almost wipe you out completely there. I think what he got left with, it's like one broken leader. He's the only thing that's left there with a wound in him. But the problem is, suddenly I can't really get through the middle of this.
And I've got incredible firepower, haven't I? I've got really, really good firepower.
Yeah.
And you've increasingly got very narrow exits.
That's right. So we count up. We count up here. So I'm currently winning on CVP, 24 to 21. But we realise that I can really. So with 4 turns left, and you have the last turn.
All I've got to do is advance off, isn't it, on the last turn, the amount of points I need, And
the only real route I've got now is this area up here, because obviously this is all going to be blazes here, or I can try and get through here, and there'll be one square here, that if you pile guys in this area here just to shoot at me, and you obviously have the last turn, there's just, I don't even think I can get anything off. I mean, literally, I thought at this point. So we called it here, me resigning, because I just can't see how I can get enough guys off midway through.
Yeah, I don't think we did call it here actually.
No, this is it. This is exactly where we called it. exactly.
Okay, yes, yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay, yeah.
So just because we can see that the flames are all going to go up in a moment, and it doesn't really matter at this point. These are not really, presumably this one's going to go, and that will be the key hex as long as that one at some point takes onto a blaze. Then trying to get through here is at least 2 turns to get to here, and like I say, all you have to do is put some guys back here to defend it. And it's the terrain is so difficult to get across. It's difficult to see any way through for the.
There's already, I think we worked out, there's already some of your units will struggle to get out.
Yeah.
If I got out of your way, isn't there?
That's right. Yeah, the guys back here, I think, can do it in 4 turns, but only just.
But only just, and obviously you're going to have to be doing assault moving and advancing in front of American firepower like that.
Right. Exactly. And so that was it. We called it, and I think. I've definitely heard of games where, like the whole thing about kindling being not applicable. A lot of people think that should be by default for a scenario, and obviously there are many scenarios like this one here where it's the key to the scenario. So I'm not suggesting it's it should be removed or anything, but you can see why sometimes in some scenarios kindling that is applicable by a mission, they've just kind of forgotten about it, can break a scenario. This hasn't been broken. This is tactically, but I'm not sure what the Koreans can do differently in this one.
Sure.
I kind of.
In fact, I do feel like I could have, had I dropped the scenario earlier, I could have made it even harder.
Right. Yeah, exactly, and almost, if, I don't know how far you had to set up. Did you have to set up some guys on this hill as well? I think on the first.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's set up in a way that the Americans are going to lose quite a few points to CVP.
Right.
Almost inevitably, I think.
Yeah.
But I probably could have done a better job of getting the guys off the major hill back, perhaps.
Right. But yeah, exactly. But you did fine. I mean, you did exactly what was needed. Because I think we talked about your medium machine gun here coming back into this spot. Because I think you just done we just done advancing fire, and all this stuff had just gone up in flames again. And this you're going to get a medium machine gun here with some more guys. It's
just to slow you down, really. I mean, you're talking about struggling to get off, but if he can cost you a turn, kind of thing.
Exactly. So then we had a little bit of discussion about when is it okay to resign? A, because the scenario isn't that much fun. B, is it unfair because we don't see the game to a conclusion, and you might feel like you've been robbed of an enjoyable last turn.
I might have been enjoying it and hoping to, and it's you sometimes feel like resigning because you can't win, or you don't think you're going to win. I've mucked this up, I'm going to lose. But then by finishing the game, you kind of deprive your opponent of the pleasure of masterfully destroying you, kind of thing, don't you? So it's I think it is quite a difficult one. I mean, if people aren't enjoying it, it seems crazy to be playing it. And at what point do you concede, and at what point do you perhaps agree that someone's not enjoying it? And it'd be quite harsh, wouldn't it, if someone said, "Oh, I just had a text. Someone in my family's really ill. I'm really worried. I don't know if I can concentrate on the game." And you go, "So, are you conceding?" It's a little bit harsh, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know how you judge that. I mean, I guess as you get to know people, I know you quite well. I kind of perhaps sense what's the right thing to do.
Throwing the dice around, and I think he's not enjoying it.
Yeah.
I said about the fact that I think, is it different if people, like, for example, we say you don't particularly log your games. I know you remember them with your steel trap mind, but you don't log them. Whereas I log all my games.
Yeah.
If you don't log games, I think it's a lot easier just to be like, you know what, let's move on. We'll play something different. If you meticulously record every scenario you want to do, it's much different it's much more different prospect to try and call it early because you feel like, well, okay, there's still a chance of a win here. I'm gonna play it on. There comes a point, I think even in something like this one for you, where it isn't much fun. You can see it's going to be a win. We've had games, we talked before about the games that we played, where you think you've got a win in the bag. And when you're playing like that, and you think, why is my opponent still playing on? you have to basically just let people play on, don't you? Until they want to quit.
Yeah.
And it's always very dangerous to point out to your opponent they can't win, because even if the opponent knows that, they might be enjoying themselves, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But there might be an aspect of the scenario rule that you haven't quite understood, or you've not misread. So let's say, for example, there's a scenario and it says, like, you either got to get 30 CVP, or you've got to move 2 guys off this board or whatever, or control these 2 buildings. And you think to yourself, well, this is, you clearly can't control these 2 buildings, and you can't get the 30 points off. You haven't got 30 left, or whatever it is. And you say to your opponent, look, I think you should resign. And the opponent has read the scenario correctly, and has said, well, actually, these are the buildings I need to control. And they don't want to point this out to you because you've misread it, and you might reposition your forces. And they say to you, look, I think you've lost here. And you go, well, I think I'm all right, And then you're like, well, why do you think you're okay? Like, where do you draw the line? Should you be like, no, look, I can move this guy? Because we've done this in the past, where we've counted stuff out and we've said, oh, look, can this guy get off, and blah, blah. And you've kind of done the work for your opponent. Oh, yeah, you can get off if you do take this route here.
Yes, yeah.
And that's happened. Where do you draw the line between just letting someone play on and actually trying to sort of saying to them, look?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, if somebody wants to play on, I suppose you should finish the scenario, I think, until it's mathematically not possible to win most of the time, shouldn't you? I guess.
What about when it is mathematically impossible to win a scenario?
That's the question you're drawing my attention to, really, isn't it? You think that it's mathematically not possible, but it's because one person has misread the scenario.
Or because
I would say that an ideal situation is that no one misreads the scenario, because that does spoil a scenario, doesn't it? But so actually, Ben Jones, we've already mentioned once, when I first played him, and it was like probably the second person I ever played, actually, Ben Jones in Blackpool. He read through the SSRs and the victory conditions with me, and he says it's always a good idea to do that, and then you both have a common understanding of what they are. And we get lazy, we don't always do that, but you should do that. And if you're kind of hoping to win because you think your opponent's a bit careless and might not read the victory conditions properly, that's wrong, isn't it? But the thing is even if you've gone through those, there is the possibility someone doesn't understand a rule, and you don't know that they don't understand the rules. They no longer understand that they can't win, or that they, you can win and they think you can't. So yeah, I guess if someone insists that they think they can win, they shouldn't be forced to explain why.
Okay.
I guess that's the only thing, isn't it? If you say, like, you sure you want to carry on because I don't think you can win, you're never going to capture these 2 buildings. If somebody says, yeah, I just want to carry on, I think I might be able to win. I've got an idea, then they shouldn't be forced to explain it, I guess.
Okay. So what about when you both have understood the rules and you both understood the conditions and you're correct in your assessment, and they still can't win?
Yeah.
But they want to play on because they're enjoying it.
I think that's so hypothetical.
I think that people have told me that they've had a game where this has happened. So I've heard of people literally mathematically not being able to win. Yeah. But they've said, well, I'm having a good time. I'd like to see how we get on. I want to see if I can, and they can't win. There's not like it's not like a secret trick or anything like that.
I think, on the whole, I think you would be at that sort of situation quite near the end of the game, wouldn't you? And so I suppose if you think it's another half an hour, I think I would go, well, okay, fine, we'll finish the game. Whatever.
Would you just not take any shots, just not move?
Yeah, just to ruin it for them.
Just carry on. Yeah, no shots, shots.
Yeah. That is quite funny. I quite like that idea.
Yeah. They're like really thinking about it.
But I mean, in principle, you should play the game to a proper conclusion, shouldn't you? I mean, we haven't with this one, but that's, I think, because neither of us perhaps are getting as much out of it as we hoped. And it's Ben loved it. Ben loves this scenario. He's played it 3 times, and we know each other well enough to kind of know perhaps what the other one's feeling a little bit. I mean, if I said to you, "Oh, come on, no, don't, Dave. You've definitely got a chance of winning this. I'm really enjoying myself."
Then
what would you do?
I would play on.
Yeah,
I would play on.
Yeah. Of course you would. Yeah.
What about the opposite? What about the start of a scenario
Yeah.
Let's talk about something like fighting withdrawal. So most people play fighting withdrawal.
Yeah.
And let's say you've set up a couple of kill stacks, and your idea is you've got a big kill stack and you're going to, or guards counterattack or whatever it might be. And you decide, okay, I'm going to concentrate my firepower on these two groups and then I'm going to run with the rest. And your first roll is, let's not say you mouth your gun, but it's a 10 or you pass or whatever. Let's say you pass and you generate a hero, whatever it is. You've generated a battle hardened leader or something. And so I was like, I quit.
Yeah.
Let's start again. Wait, how many times are you allowed to re-roll your first roll before?
So I don't think you can. I mean, I think if you kind of have. I mean, I don't think I would insist on it, but I think they've got to concede if they just think that it's swung it that far over. But be the most unsatisfying win of your ASL career, wouldn't it?
But this goes back to, if you're not logging your games.
Yeah.
Oh, I quit. Let's start again. Same setup. Can I roll again? Yeah. It's like, just keep quitting until you start with your good roll, and then the other person quits because you've rolled snake.
Yeah, then you get a double one or something. So it's, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I think that at the end of the day, people have to be reasonable, don't they? I think that, of course, not everybody is, but if you're playing someone who's not reasonable, then a good trick is not to play them again, isn't it? And we're all. Lots of people are short of opponents. It's not easy to get an opponent sometimes in a big world where we're all spread out. If people don't play Vassal, it's quite difficult to get a regular opponent. So I think be reasonable. That's the trick.
That is the trick.
I would say ASL is ASL. It could be that last roll that's ludicrously unfair that loses you the scenario, or it could be the first one. That just makes the scenario more challenging. I think you should play it as. I mean, we've all done that, haven't we? Right, you go, right, okay, right, I'm going to fire my important smoke now, disabled. Oh, next one, no, it hasn't got any smoke. Okay, all right, I've now got to cross open ground without any protection. Well, that's the game, isn't it? That's exactly what the game's designed to model, is that kind of dramatic situation.
Yeah. That's absolutely true. It's absolutely true.
Yeah, no one's going to repossess your home. Because your guns malfunctioned on the first turn or whatever.
The smouldering smoke from the game.
One thing I do disagree with you on, I don't think it makes a huge difference whether you record your games or not, because I'm still trying to win. I think I find it quite dissatisfying to just leave a game unfinished. I want to finish it. I want to play it through to a conclusion, even if that is a reasonable conceding. No, obviously I can't win now, or whatever. That's fine. I don't feel like you suggested that if you're not recording it, it kind of doesn't matter. Just go, let's just play again, or let's just start, or let's just play something else. I don't know that I feel like that. I don't know whether other people do.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I think it's an interesting case, and I think the other thing about, like, we talk about the bad luck. Every ASL player has had terrible luck, and has had great luck, and they've been on the receiving end, and they've been on the. And I know we all think that we are the unlucky ones, but I think it helps to remember that there's very unlikely that that the fact that you've lost your 3 King Tigers to 3 malfunctions or whatever it might be, someone else has had the same, if not worse. And I know there's Jim will tell us that there's a bell curve, and that there's some unlucky people and some lucky people, and you sit on the curve of this somewhere, and there's always someone that's the most unluckiest guy in the world. But
I suppose that's true. Yeah,
I'm going to say that if you're the most unluckiest guy playing ASL, you're still fairly lucky in life. If you're playing a lot, possibly ASL,
not. If you're playing ASL, possibly not in love, but in other aspects of your life.
That's very true. But yeah, it's pretty grim. Yeah. Now, if you knew that you were the most unluckiest guy in ASL,
well, at least you got an excuse then, can't you? Well, I am the unluckiest ASL player.
That's very true. It's very true. Okay, so we're going to talk about people being unlucky, and now we're going to talk about people being lucky. So how can we win? How can you win a copy of either St. Mary Glees or the Frank Thier number 16? Our idea is, if you send us a narrated log file, so we're looking for a video, So the best thing to do is to upload it, for example, to a private YouTube link and send us the link to the private video rather than send us the videos themselves. But if you send us a narrated log file of one of your enjoyable games, something that's had a lot of fun, and obviously you guys will do a better job than we've done of doing ours. But give us a scenario breakdown, give us an idea about what's going on in the scenario, your plan, your tactics. Take us through the game, narrate us, obviously tell us what's happened all the way through to a conclusion, and we will use those in future episodes. And if we can get any in by the end of the year, not only will we show them obviously as we get them, and by the way, this will continue going forward as well. If you want to send us a video, the best official scenario, so an MMP scenario or Avalon Hill, if it's an old one, will be in the chance to win the Semerigles. And if you want a chance to win La Franctiere, you need to send us a third party scenario narrated by yourself, video style, bells and whistles, put some arrows on, put some strategic advice, give us the breakdown of the dice at the end, whatever it is you want to do.
And we'll make you famous.
We will. We can make you a star. So I would say no more than 10 minutes for a scenario length in terms of how long it takes to narrate the scenario. And please do send it through. So we'll look at what happens. If we haven't got a favourite by the end of the year, we'll put them in a draw. So Patreons, non-Patreons, whatever you'd like to be. I think if it ends up going to a draw and it's a Patreon in the draw, we'll give them double the chance to win. But everybody has a chance to win if it isn't a draw.
Yeah.
If there's one standout, brilliant one, and everyone else is just excellent, but there's even better than that.
Mediocre. Yeah.
We reserve the right to choose. Now,
declared something otherworldly good. Yeah.
For the starter kit one, we can do the same thing. We can do that, but I feel like we might do a starter kit tournament. I think that's maybe what we can do there. So for starter kit tournaments, what we would do, and you and I can play in the starter kit tournament. So I would say starter kit tournaments players don't have to be patrons. So if you are a starter kit player or a starter kit player, so ideally we won't have full ASL players playing in the starter kit tournament. So we'll try and get newer players playing. So the challenge here is going to be that we don't necessarily reach the starter kit players, because I don't imagine that many starter kit players will have watched as many videos as perhaps that we do. Maybe I'm wrong. So if you guys know of any starter kit players and they would like to join a starter kit tournament, obviously you and I won't win it, but we'll play in it just to kind of, I don't know, to give people a chance to beat, the famous Martin Barker. At least they get to experience his dice. That's what we can do. And we will do that for their choice of either the bonus kit, starter kit 2, starter kit 3. So we'll find some starter kit scenarios to play. And obviously we will keep it to the basics. So we'll do from starter kit 1. So the scenarios will be probably no tanks, no guns. It's going to be nice and basic stuff. So get them to get in touch with us, or drop us a YouTube comment if you are still, and perhaps we'll try and start that. I don't know. Should we try and start it in? Where are we?
Maybe October. I mean, it's a bit close, isn't it? Maybe
November.
November.
We'll aim to start it in November. So get starter kit players interested in telling us they want to join, and obviously they can choose what they win, and we'll highlight that as well, and we'll mess around with some starter kit for a little while. All right, I think it's probably time for Toby's tips about leaders. So, Toby, take it away.
Okay, this time we're going to look at higher value leaders, values -1 to -3. Now, obviously, these leaders can rally units that are broken. They'll normally do it from a rear area that's safe, and you can, of course, in desperation, if you really need those units back, you can use the higher value, like -2 or -3 leaders. But normally this is best done by 0s or -1s, and obviously an 8-1 is better used for rallying than a 9-1, because he doesn't need that extra level of morale to rally, because he's safe at the back. The main use of good leaders, I suppose there's two main uses. One is fire support. So your sort of kill stack stuff, or a couple of squads with some support weapons that is a valuable shot. And in those circumstances, depending on the situation, you can decide to put whatever minus value you wish to with that kill stack, so to speak. Again, what I would do is, say I had two German squads, light machine gun, medium, right, 16 firepower, and it's basically going to be shooting most of the time. I'd put an 8-1 with that rather than a 9-1, because the 9-1 I would rather have going forward with some assault troops, because then those assault troops are going to get shot at, and that's when you'll need the extra morale value. And your big question with even better, or -2 and -3 level leaders, if you're attacking, is whether you want them with a kill stack or whether you want them ensuring that your troops get forward. That doesn't mean that you put a 10-3 with some guys you're running around in the open, but typically you have a 9-2 with elite assault troops that aren't running around in the open, but are putting themselves into vulnerable positions, such as advancing adjacent to an unbroken unit. They're going to take a morale check, but it's not going to be a sort of possible KIA. It's not like he's running around the open with a -2, but it'll be taking a large shot, 12, 16, +2, +3, and that's when you want your extra morale and your leadership modifier to try to help your guys survive the shot. So, and I can't really advise on whether you want to put it in a kill stack. I suppose you could say that the more high rate of fire units you have in a kill stack, and the better shots you have, then probably the better leader with a better modifier you want there, because he's going to get more value. But if there's not that many targets and so on, then you might think, well, actually, it's more important to get forward and survive some shots coming back at me, and then you put him with the assault troops. There's not a colossal amount else to say, I don't think, about the subject, so I'll just stop there.
All right, pretty good, Toby.
Yep.
Thank you for that.
So my question about that is, if you've got that 9-1 leader that's in the assault, the 8-1, Toby's got him back manning the machine guns, and that makes sense. And he moves adjacent. You want to move some of your infantry adjacent to an unbroken enemy unit. It's going to get a prep fire shot. Do you move that 9-1 leader in to increase the morale and make them more likely to pass? Or do you keep it like the hex behind to rally them?
Right.
I don't know. I suppose it's situational, isn't it? I suppose.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing as well is put in those, like, if you've got a choice between 9-1 and 8-1 leaders going into melee, you're throwing the 8-1 in, aren't you? Because morale is, close combat's a great leveler.
Yeah, that's right. Morale. Yeah.
And
he's just as valuable, isn't he, in close combat?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What do you do with 9-2 leaders? 9-2 feel like they're invulnerable.
Well, they do feel invulnerable, and losing them is tragic, isn't it? So the one thing is you don't particularly want to lose them. I mean, the remarkable thing about a 9-2 leader is he makes the wooden buildings disappear, doesn't he? I mean, he can't fire through them, but he literally makes them disappear. So all of a sudden you're naked, your defences, when the heavy machine gun directed by the -2 leader starts firing at them. I guess I would always be inclined to put a leader that powerful with the heavy machine gun and the medium machine gun or whatever.
Right.
That's perhaps my go-to. I don't know whether Toby would agree that that's the right thing to do.
I use my 9-2 as sniper bait for the conscript squads around him, because he definitely draws that sniper.
Well, all of a sudden, we're just watching what's happening in Kursk, and like the conscripts are the most valuable, aren't they? Because they're the ones that's causing a political crisis. When they lose conscripts, there's more of a fuss made. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
The other thing about 9-2 is they are very, very good in close combat, particularly against vehicles. If you've got a tank in bypass, the 9-2 with a squad has got a very good chance of taking it out. Yeah.
That's very.
What do you do with the 9-2 and the 10-3?
I tend to get them more up front. I tend to not.
Yeah.
I tend to feel like I think my kill stacks at the back, my medium machine guns, my heavy machine guns, tend to run out of targets.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
my opponents get out of the way of them, and I feel like any turn that you're not getting full use out of them, passing morale checks, sweeping through close combat, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But so I tend to do that, but I'm not suggesting that's right. I mean, I'm no. I'm no great player.
I mean, they're close to invulnerable, aren't they? I mean, like, okay, you can obviously fail a morale check when you've got 10 morale or whatever, but the chances are well in your favour, aren't they? And
the trouble is with them is that they're not good defenders in close combat. So they're great attackers. They definitely hold their own and help get through. But there's a lot of mutual destruction with a 9-2. When you're 1-to-1 close combat, that kind of stuff. And that feels horrible. When you've gone, you've gone down to a half squad and you've got your 9-2 in there, and then suddenly a 4-5-8 comes in and sits on top of them and is, then they're rolling 1-2 with a -2 and they're rolling at 1-to-1 or whatever. That's where it feels bad that they can't defend as well. But I don't know.
I guess that's it. It doesn't matter how good you are, or if a bullet hits you, doesn't it? It's
or a spade or whatever it is,
or whatever it is,
close combat, shovel, a shovel to the face. I think it's always very situational, isn't it? I think that's the other thing. Maybe there's better use in defence rather than attack or whatever.
Yeah. I'm going to give more thought to how I use my leaders, though, and of course there's a difference perhaps between whether you're attacking or defending on exactly how you use them.
Right.
Perhaps.
Yeah, and even potentially in nationalities as well. So, for example, Americans tend to bounce right back. So, I'm always going to use the 6 or 7-0s, the 8-1s, whatever, in the rear for bigger troops, but often for like Americans and stuff like that, you don't necessarily need as many leaders to rally those guys because they'll come back naturally.
Yeah, well, they're 9 morale kind of thing. Yeah. Well, they don't self-rally. Yeah, but they're fucked with even a 6+1 or such. I don't know. Do the Americans have 6+1? I don't ever remember seeing.
I think you had one in this game. Didn't he ELR down to 6-1?
Oh, well, he ELR down to it. Yeah, but I don't know that you ever get them in. I don't remember getting them in games. Perhaps you do.
Yeah. There's usually some. There's always a historical write-up about some, bumbling idiot that turned the course of the tide for some reason. Okay. All right, let's talk about our tournament. So Pete Schelling has picked Hit It and Quit It from Action Pack 18. I'm going to just, Martin, if you talk for that for a second, I'm just going to pull up.
So it's AP193 if people want to have a look, and we'll obviously we'll read out the matches in a minute, but I will email everybody later today. Relatively small scenario, small little map, board 92. There's a hill and a little village at a crossroads, and we have got 13 squads versus 10 squads, and only one vehicle, which is a German Opel 6700 Busing NAG4 fighter, a truck, one of those ubiquitous German trucks.
Okay. So Pete talked about his favourite scenarios as well, so we should mention these because in a celebration of Pete's amazing scenario designing skills. So he talked about one of his favourite tournament size scenarios, and this one we were potentially going to play, which was Schloss Hemmingstein, which is from the journal.
We've played it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
let me have a look and see if that's actually true.
It's absolutely true.
Is it?
It's late war, Germans, Americans.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Right. Well, okay. I haven't got it down as being played. So.
Okay. There's a possibility that I played it with Nick or something like that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. But it is late war.
Yeah.
German
you're
American.
absolutely right. Yeah. So exactly right.
And it's from a journal as well.
It is from a journal, Journal 121.
Yeah.
Okay. But we also talked about Late for Chow is another one. Now, I think that you and I have played that one. I'm going to see. That does ring a bell, Late for Chow. Let's have a look. So I have played it. Oh, okay. I played against Sam Pryor.
Okay.
And so it's one of my rare wins.
Yep.
One of my rare wins against Sam. And
I've never beaten Sam.
Then he talks about Encircle This, which I believe you and I have played.
Yeah, I think so.
And this is why Pete is such a great scenario designer, because I think so many of these scenarios we remember as well, don't we? That was a Schwerpunk one, wasn't it? Because that was a Encircle This and then Encircle That.
That's right.
So let's have a look. So I played Paul Jones. Paul Jones, that one. So City Fight. I don't know if you've played that one. German Russian.
I've played one of them. One of the Encircle This, Encircle That scenarios.
So he kind of like that. And then he said like one of the big ones he played and he has enjoyed was One Smart Bastard, but no one's played it yet. He says on Raw. So.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's one from the Winter Offensive. So maybe
perhaps that's one we should do sometime to get it
absolutely
off the good start.
That. Yeah. Exactly. So we will try and get the first play in of One Smart Bastard. Let's just see if it's not been recorded anything yet.
Yeah.
As we know, the archive now pulls out raw stats. No, okay, so it has not been played. So you and I very quickly must play One Smart Bastard before anyone else logs a play. Okay, so
we got to be the first.
We'll do that. We'll do it. Okay, all right. So that's what we're going to play next. So anyway, big shout out to Pete for an amazing contribution. I think he's done nearly 200 scenarios. Unique scenarios he's nearly done. I think incredible contributions to the hobby.
Absolutely,
we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for people like him and all the other scenario designers who put their efforts and work in, and of course, by extension, the playtesters as well. They've playtested to tweak those scenarios into the magnificent beasts that they are. So
absolutely,
big thank you to him. All right, Martin. Anything else from you?
Well, we do need to. Am I going to read out who's playing who in the final round?
Absolutely are.
That's not the final round. Sorry, it's not the final round. Penultimate round.
Please do, Martin. Please do.
Okay. So the only sort of oddity about this is because we had Mr. Repetti, Tom Repetti, and we had Peter Albrecht drop out of the last round. They're coming back in, but they're kind of playing friendlies because obviously they weren't involved all the way through. So I'm playing both of them, which is a slight oddity because, of course, had I known they both wanted to come in, I would have set them up together. But I'd already arranged to play Tom, so I'll be playing. So in the interests of full disclosure, I will have played once before I play one of the others. Okay, so these are the. I'm going to leave the sort of semi-finals till the end. So Paul Legg has drawn Dave Maresk. Steve Slunt has drawn Stephen Hall. Jim Bishop has drawn Doug Leslie. Peter Albrecht has drawn Mike Grogan. I have pulled. Martin has played Tom Repetti. And actually, sorry, it's not Peter Albrecht that dropped out. It's Richard
Webb,
who I'm also playing. Right. So those are the people who are not in for potentially in the semi-final. Dave Ramsey is in the semi-final, and he will be losing. Sorry, he's drawn Tim Reed.
Okay.
And Andy Bagley is Tuo Morikari.
Perfect. Okay. All right.
So we got 2 Brits and 2 non-Brits in the final.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well,
potentially in the final. Yeah.
good luck to everybody that's not my opponent, but I'm sure Tim will do.
Yeah.
Tim doesn't need luck to beat me. I think he's beat me enough times before. All right. So we will be playing that. So Hit It or Quit It from Pete.
Yeah.
And we'll try and get that done by the end of October, so that we've got November, December to get the final one in, and then we'll figure out a prize at some point for the winners and the winning losing bracket or whatever.
Yeah.
And however many entries you want yourself in that bracket.
Mm-hmm.
You get the biggest loser prize, Martin, for playing the most losing brackets.
Fantastic. I don't think I've won a game yet, so I've done well, but
It's all right, there's no problems. Okay. Anything else?
I think we're good. I think we've covered all the things you listed at the beginning, which is how you're supposed to do these things, isn't it?
Exactly. All right, so we're going to play One Smart Bastard before any of you guys do it, so don't play it before us. Feel free to come up with an idea if you want to for narrating a scenario and giving us some content to use.
Be fantastic.
Would be looking forward to that. And obviously, if we see some innovative stuff, we can steal it and attempt to replicate it. But yeah, give us some good stuff. Put some music on. Well, don't put any copyrightable music on it. But yeah. Other than that, Martin, it's been real. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well played.
Take care, everybody.
Good. Yeah. Thanks, Ben, for ruining that scenario. All right. Take care, guys. See you soon.
Cheerio.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.